Cathie Wood from ARK Invest was interviewed this morning where she stated her belief that Tesla is the largest AI play in the world with 5 million robots on the road. This is just a continuation of a string of Wall Street analysts and institutional investors now recognizing Tesla is an AI company and actually that Tesla is the world leader. So today we're going to talk to Larry Goldberg. We're going to ask him, when does he think that Tesla is truly going to start getting the AI label on it and what might happen to the stock at some point? Larry is a long-term Tesla investor and he's a multi-entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining us, Larry.
Thanks, Herbert, for having me.
So this is a really great interview that CNBC did with Cathie Wood just this morning. So let's share what it looks like.
Very bullish on autonomy, yes. Vehicle autonomy of ETF all around it, robotics and the like. What do you make of what's happened with Cruise, the shutdown of Cruise, at least the temporary suspension of it? Dara Khosrowshahi, who runs Uber, was on the broadcast last week. He said he doesn't think that autonomy, in terms of autonomous vehicles or robo-taxis or the like, are a real thing for another 5 or 10 years. Meaning, and by the way, I think 5 or 10 years ago, he would have said 5 or 10 years ago, that was what, you know,
so would Elon, yes.
And so here we are.
Yes.
So what, have you changed your view about that? No. I mean, you must have, because I imagine if we go get tape of a conversation that we all probably had 5 or 10 years ago, we probably said 5 or 10 years from now.
22, 23, right. 24. We actually delay ours by 1 year relative to Elon, so maybe it should be 2 years. But here's where we've learned how important Tesla's proprietary data is. It's 5 million robots around the world. Cruise didn't have anything like that. It had hundreds. 5 million robots around the world collect data every day and send it back to Tesla. Tesla has more corner cases, which means disengagements, accidents, information like that, than all the other companies in the world combined. And I have to tell you, watching the breakthroughs in AI that we are seeing, they are astounding, the speed at which this is moving. So it is interesting. I think it's a data issue. Autonomous taxi platforms are the biggest AI project in the world, and therefore we think Tesla is the biggest
you've sold Tesla shares, and it's, you know, it used to be the #1 holding, I believe, in your ETF. It's now number 3. You've sold about 20 million shares.
Yes.
Why?
So, well, whenever it goes up, it was up about 150%. Relative to our other names, many of which had not moved. So we will always recycle that way, take profits. And I would also say, listening to Elon on the last conference call, he's very concerned about the economy, as we are.
Cathie, will I look outside 5 years from now and see GM and Ford EVs everywhere?
It's very interesting to hear both of them pull back saying,
but do you think, with this new way, I don't even know if we'll be talking about GM and Ford in 5 years.
What is interesting about the news that both of them are pulling back for profitability reasons, they can't be profitable in this space unless they scale. That's how this works.
It's a catch-22.
So it's catch-22, and their shareholder base is very internal combustion engine oriented, and they want their profits now, and they want their dividends now. And they don't want that kind of investment. So how are they going to do it?
Will they be able to?
I don't know. All I know is, back to the Tesla question, as they are pulling away, our market share expectations for Tesla go up.
Right.
You know, and so to answer the question, we sold as it was up 150% relative to everything else. We have not sold much since then. And it will, if we're right on this autonomous taxi opportunity, it will remain in the top 5 in our fund, in our flagship.
All right. So, Larry, there's so many things here we can talk about. You choose which topic first. She talked about robotaxi, Elon's predictions. She talked about Tesla as being an AI company. She talked about her own fund and why she buys and sells. And then she talked about GM and Ford, and they need scale to succeed and may not succeed, which is your favorite topic.
Well, I want to just remark on Phil LeBeau. You know, Phil LeBeau actually said whether GM and Ford will be around, you know, in the future. This is Phil LeBeau. Go back 5 years and listen to Phil LeBeau poo-pooing electric vehicles, EVs, poo-pooing them, just saying, you know, it's not going to happen. This man has turned 180 degrees. So that's just an interesting factor. But getting back to Cathie, I mean, Cathie's absolutely correct. The 5 million cars that Tesla has on the road, and it's going to be 5.5 million in just a couple of months, just a couple of weeks now. That's a very, very important number. Now, what's interesting, though, what's really interesting is that she talks about corner cases. Actually, with the new architecture, where they're using end-to-end AI, what's even more interesting than corner cases is huge numbers of standard driving cases to train the inference. So the value of those cars have gone up, of the cars on the road that already have the video feed available to Tesla has grown immensely, because not only are they looking at corner cases, but they're looking at standard cases as well as a standard language to feed the AI. So that's a factor that hasn't been taken into account yet. So yeah, I mean, it's taken a while for the AI community to wake up to the value that Tesla has. And now, famously, Tesla's rated like last in the AI stakes by some of the AI analysts, but the truth of self-driving analysts. But the truth of the matter is that Tesla are very much on the verge. I talked about 1 to 3 years about 7 months ago. I'm staying with that. I think we're going to see some incredible advances early next year or late this year as we move from this current version of full self-driving to what amounts to the final architecture. I don't think the next release, which Elon talks about in 2 weeks, in Elon 2 weeks' time, is going to be a non-beta release. I think they're going to have a pre-release of the final release, and I think it's going to come at the Cybertruck announcement. I think we will hear when it'll be released. I think it'll be released. I think we'll get the beta use of it, and then with the release coming towards the end, towards the beginning of next year. But I see next year as the breakthrough year for end-to-end inference. I see the end-to-end inference maturing during the course of the year, and I see the possibility of FSD, at almost robotaxi capability towards the end of next year or early the following year. So when I talked about 1 to 3 years, I think we're actually earlier than earlier than the midpoint of that period. So I'm pretty excited about what's going on right now.
Yeah, I am too. So let's break this down a little bit. So number one, Elon did say just recently, he did a post on X saying that, so when is FSD 12 going to come out? He said in 2 weeks. It could be a complete joke, right? Most people are assuming that that's a joke, but it does make sense what you're saying, that maybe in November 28th, is it November 30th, when they do the Cybertruck delivery event, that they're going to announce it there as well, that, this is imminent. And then when they talked about that, Elon has continued to say 5 to 10 years, and they keep pushing it. You just said that I'm going to keep my 3 to 5 years, or was it, sorry, 1 to 3 year, 1 to 3 year thing still the same. In fact, you're more bullish. But that is my point. It's just that, yes, you keep pushing, but at some point, because it's of the time that you've had, you keep making progress, it will happen. What I mean? Like everybody just assumed, well, you said that 5 years ago, so it's going to be another 5 years, and it's going to be another 5 years. That's in fact, it's closer and closer to it actually finally happening. What you were wrong before, you're going to be correct this time around. So you've heard Cathie and many, this is just string of analysts talking about Tesla being an AI company. Yeah. What will it take for 2024 for investors, institutional investors, to start realizing this is not only an AI company, but the largest one? Now, you talked about FSD. Is FSD the only thing that they can that will happen next year for this to kind of like investors start flooding money, giving it the AI boom?
Well, absolutely not. I think everybody's beginning to realize because of the GPT breakthrough of this current year, and because of the incredibly rapid rate in which these large language models are increasing in capability, we have begun to realize what the confluence of huge amounts of data and very large compute can do in terms of inference, in terms of capability, using these very large models. I mean, they're called large language models, but actually they're just large models, large data models. So large language just happens to be one form of data, but traffic is another form of data. I mean, actual driving is another form of data. So we now see, and vision, the use of vision as a form of data is, is where Tesla leads the entire world. So we're seeing this confluence and we're seeing the capability of it. And we understand now the magic moment, the moment when GPT-3 suddenly became, present in our lives and really, really valuable in our lives. And we see the path forward. The same thing's happening as we speak in terms of driving. And so, I'm setting the bar pretty high. I'm saying that we're going to jump a bar that's pretty high very quickly. But I really believe that given the experience and given where we are, we're at that point where suddenly there's going to be that realization. And those people who rate Tesla at the bottom are going to suddenly flip it to the top, just as has happened in the large language models.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. Yeah, I agree with you. She's already mentioning that it is a data situation, and the more data you have, the more compute that you have, all of a sudden this will come to the forefront. What do you think about her reputation? Cathie still seems to be on being interviewed. Everybody seems to still believe that her comments make a difference, but she's been flat. In fact, you lose money from ARK Invest, and then she's been playing that, the question about why you're selling Tesla if you're so bullish. What's your evaluation of Cathie and ARK Invest?
I'm bullish on ARK. I'm an investor in ARK actually, and I do follow their research very closely. The research is amazing. I do think that, during the pandemic, they tended to invest in areas that I think were ephemeral. I think they got sidetracked a little. That's fine. I mean, I want my researcher to make quite a few mistakes, but I want to be part of the discovery of those golden nuggets. And boy, she has discovered some important gold nuggets. I love the research they do on medical or therapeutic areas, particularly gene editing. I think it's absolutely groundbreaking, and I think it's very important. The work that they've done on EVs, the work that they've done on full self-driving, I think is very important. So yeah, I love Cathie. I love her work. And, she's going to be wrong 3/5 of the time. But to be right 2/5 of the time in this area is, it is hitting it out of the park. That's just my view.
Love it. I mean, I think the vast majority of people agree that the research that ARK Invest does is bar none the best. And then the complaint is that she's called it wrong and the stock is down. But it's disruptive technology. Maybe she will redeem herself and see what happens when robotaxi comes to fruition, which you and I believe is actually there. Okay. Thank you very much, Larry. Follow him on X at Tesla Larry. Just wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate your feedback here. See you soon.
Thanks.